This is Sports Today with Carl Langdon and Brad Hardy on 882 6PR.
We really aim to be very, very competitive this weekend. We picked a team we think can win still. We understand it's going to be a really tough assignment. So I have experienced this before at St Kilda, and we went down and won the game. So that's still the aim here, but we've sort of taken some calculated risks on management of players that hopefully will bear fruit. You know, proof's in the pudding at the end of the day, so there's a bit of water to flow under the bridge. And but we're going over normal preparation, personnel changes obviously, and yeah, look, I've heard the noise and it's in the marketplace, and if you're a Geelong Football Club you'd be requesting that. You know, I've lived in Melbourne a long time. There's two world-class stadiums there. Clearly Etihad's elite stadium for players, spectators, members and fans, and the networks of broadcasters. Simonds is behind that. I know it's been upgraded, but doesn't sit in that league clearly. It would be third cab off the rank. I think would only get the Simonds, you know, as a default on the others not being available.
Let's go straight into the Fremantle camp because Steve Rosich, the CEO, has been good enough to join us. G'day, Steve.
Good afternoon, gents. Great to join you. Spring's on the horizon, but it doesn't feel like that in Perth tonight, just on the drive home now.
No, I saw that. It's been very windy over here. It's going to be 20-odd over the weekend. Now, Steve, obviously the talk of the day has been the suggestion only at this stage that perhaps there could be a final played down at Simonds Stadium.
Look, we've been in discussion with key AFL executives over the last few days, and look, it is one possibility. They have the opportunity to look at the MCG as the preeminent stadium to host such a final. They have Etihad Stadium as an option, and I think just to rule out all options, they're also considering Simonds Stadium. As we stated today in a press release, you know, it's our view that that's clearly the third rank in those three stadiums, and I think many people would have to agree, given the location of the stadium, the capacity of stadium, and the quality of facilities available at both the MCG and Etihad, which will be available for such a fixture.
Why is it even being considered? Did they give you that answer?
Well, that's our view. That what I've just said, then, Carl, that's not certainly words from the AFL. Simon Lethlean, who heads up scheduling at the AFL, has told us it's part of the process that they're considering it, and obviously we've entered that debate vigorously because it's our view that, particularly from a fan's perspective, we've played two recent finals in Melbourne, both against Geelong. In 2010, there was in the order of 45,000 people. In 2012, there was 44,000 people, yet they're considering a stadium that has a capacity of only 33,000. So clearly, you know, with this game, if it was to eventuate, Fremantle v Geelong in Melbourne, it'd be a top four clash, eagerly anticipated. You'd expect a capacity more closer to that of Etihad Stadium, around 53,000 people.
I think Fremantle's performances, Steve, have earmarked that general football supporters would want to see this game now. I mean, it might have been a little different in the past, but you've arrived, you're in the top four, and I think people want to see that now. And the other thing is, has anybody discussed this with Etihad? Because of the fact we know that if they were going to play 4 games, which was mooted also at the MCG, they could pick up a couple of home away games next year and be happy. But I don't think they'd be too happy if they weren't getting a final because it was going to be moved to Simonds.
Well, look, absolutely. I mean, it's a showcase stadium. It's world-class, Etihad Stadium. The AFL will obviously own it at least or as early as late as 2025. And many people from Perth have the opportunity to travel to Melbourne for that final. If you try and book a flight from Wednesday to Saturday next week, they're chock-a-block. Clearly, people are anticipating a final in Melbourne. I've got no doubt that less people would travel if the fixture was at Simonds. And the people that go from Perth have the opportunity, obviously, more easily to watch a game on Saturday night if this game was to be on a Saturday afternoon at either the MCG or Etihad. Just
move around a bit, Steve. You're just a few degrees one way or the other, mate. That'll help us.
How's that?
That's better.
Look, the other scenario that I wanted to bring into this equation is that the Sydney Football Club. Now, in 2006, you played them in a preliminary final at ANZ Stadium. In 2008, they played at ANZ Stadium against North Melbourne in front of 19,127 fans. Horrible night, but still 19,127. In 2010, they played Carlton at ANZ Stadium. In 2012, last year, they played Collingwood at ANZ Stadium. So they haven't been playing at the SCG either, which you would have thought that over the last few years, given how good Sydney had been, Steve, that if they were going to go down this track of considering Simonds Stadium, that all of those finals should have been played at the SCG.
Well, let's hope it's just a consideration and part of the due diligence the AFL is conducting in this sense. In all of our conversations with them, clearly we believe from all perspectives, fans, players, coaches, the TV broadcast alike, that the fixture is suitable and worthy of the MCG or Etihad, and I trust that'll be the case.
Steve, how wary are you and the club of distracting the players? Because obviously Ross and the players don't care where they play. They'll play on the beach if they have to. But, I mean, how far are you prepared to push this?
Oh, look, we push it in the professional way that we do in our consultation discussion with the right and relevant people. So we'll continue to do that. What is clear to me as CEO, and I feel very comfortable, that our coaching team led by Ross Lyon, our footy ops staff led by Chris Bond, and the playing group are not distracted. They'll simply focus on the next task at hand and prepare themselves for this weekend and then our first final, wherever that may be.
Are you putting your boots on this weekend? I'm just looking at the amount of changes there.
Yeah, half of them. Are you going to keep an eye on them? Because half of them are sitting here.
I'm certainly not. That would be a concern. But look, in terms of our match committee, we had a discussion on Monday, which I was part of with Ross Lyon and Chris Bond, and left them with the mantra that our role over the next 2 weeks is to prepare ourselves as best as possible for week one of the finals. We have shored up a top 4 position. Clearly there's some permutations that could take place this weekend, and they've weighed those up. But I fully support the objective of preparing ourselves as best we can for round one of the finals, and that's obviously been the driver of that match committee decision.
Hey, Steve, the SMSs have started coming in, and Alan is straight on the front foot. He says, I've heard Ross Lyon on 6PR say all year the Freo motto, anyone, anywhere, anytime, yet the club complains about a possible final in Geelong. Geelong have earned the right. They finished second, says Alan.
Well, they certainly earned the right for a home final in their home state, and they'll get that. I think prudence will suggest that should be played at one of the 2 best stadiums available in this country, let alone Melbourne, in MCG or Etihad. And our players and coaches absolutely have that mantra. They'll play wherever they're designated to play.
It was Alan Bartel too, by the way. Thanks very much for your time, Steve. Appreciate it. Good luck with it.
Good evening, gents.
Steve Rosich here, Fremantle CEO.